Hello, my sweeties. It is time for another Manta story review. This month, we are going into a completely different direction than of the stories before. However, it is quite fitting for Halloween season. So, as always, Manta gave me a peek into the first 5 episodes of today's comic, which is called How About a Cosmic Horror Story? So, let's dive into it. Now, this story is set in a modern time, and our main character is a young woman by the name of Irene, if I pronounced that correctly. And she finds herself waking up in a hospital bed, not really sure what happened. And quite frankly, it gets very interesting very fast. So, apparently, during whatever happened to her, she has lost some of her memories. Now, apparently, to her surprise, she does have a husband who is looking forward to seeing her again. However, things get rather bizarre because when her husband shows up, she is terrified and wants to get away immediately. And not just out of fear of a strange man or anything of the sorts. It is because when she looks at him, she sees a tentacle monster, which sounds pretty wild. Ari sees a tentacle monster instead of her husband. However, everybody else seems to see him perfectly fine. She is the only one who sees a terrifying alien tentacle creature when she sees him, which is explained to us after some research and investigation done by the doctors. Apparently, she has Capgras syndrome. Now, I would use this medical term very loosely because the explanation that they give, even in the story themselves, is that it's basically imposter syndrome, where you look at the person that you know or trust, but you think they're not them. You think they were exchanged, and it's just an imposter who looks exactly like them. So that she sees him as a tentacle monster doesn't really fit there, but in this universe, the doctors say, oh, that can be. It looks like it's Capgras syndrome. We don't know if it's temporary or if it's going to be an issue you have for the rest of your life, but for now, your husband is going to look like a tentacle monster to you, which is an interesting start. So our nice point to start things out is a tentacle monster husband who, according to everybody else, is incredibly handsome. And she does see him on pictures that he shows her, and she is handsome. She definitely says he's her type, so that's good for her, right? Now, as things develop, she is, of course, very confused. She doesn't really remember much of her past, but the things that he tells her about her past don't really seem to align with the fragments that she remembers. Johan, which is her husband, lets her know that she has graduated from a very prestigious university for the arts with a degree for virtual design, and right after she started working under Johan. Now, she thinks she remembers going to a very average university, struggling for school, and choosing to major in math, even though she doesn't like it. So the whole university was a struggle for her, and even after, in her memory, she had issues finding a job until she got one that was horrible work conditions, a horrible boss. So things don't really align there with the few bits she does remember. However, there are pictures of them together. He does tell her about past situations. The only thing he remains kind of dodgy about is the past of their relationship itself. And obviously, as it's kind of already implied, Johan, being the CEO of a company, is rich. As in, rich, rich, rich. He introduces her to what he says is their shared home, which is a room with many, many bedrooms and luxury clothing, luxury brand products, just a whole bunch of very expensive stuff, which leads to her to wonder, how did I get a guy like that? And at least for now, she doesn't really get an answer to it, aside from that apparently she was hard to get for him, not the other way around, which is hard to believe for her, but I guess it's all she knows for now. So for now, we already have quite a bit of mystery with our tentacle head husband, though it gets even more interesting. After some sort of dream she has, the next day when she sees him, he doesn't look like a tentacle monster anymore, so that's great. But instead, she sees him as a planet. Just a human body with a planet as the head. When she touches his face, she can feel his regular face. When she looks at him through the lens of her phone for the camera, she can see him as he really looks. But in person, she just still sees something else. And still, there's not really a good explanation aside from, oh, it might be some medication that you had, might be just Capgras syndrome, might be temporary, might not be. We'll have to watch and see. And I mean, in her position, there's not really a lot else to do other than be like, okay, I guess that's what's happening. So let's wait, right? Now, I gotta say, throughout all of this, Johan is a gentleman. Like, he really wants those green flags waving for him. He is respectful. He is holding back on physical touch after she asks him to do that. He's very kind. He always calls her honey and talks about how much he loves her and how important she is to him. Super, super sweet, but still kind of unsettling given the rest of the circumstances. Because for whatever reason, he also seems to be absurdly strong and talking about how her body is fragile, how her lungs are fragile. It's an interesting topic to bring up with your spouse, I would say. But it's things he mentions, and, given the circumstances, Ray doesn't really have a lot to go at. So for now, she just has her planet head husband, who treats her like a princess, saying, you go, boy. And I would say from tentacle head to planet head is an upgrade. Still weird, but an upgrade. Now, when it is finally time for her to return home with Johan, she is getting picked up, or they are getting picked up by Johan's assistant, Nia, who, as Irene notices, is very snarky for an employee of someone who's as rich and successful as Johan, and it strikes her as odd, but for the other two it doesn't seem to be anything weird, so she doesn't really ask more about that. Now, arriving at her new home, it seems that it's not just her and her husband living there, but there's also a cat. Or is it? When Irene asks, oh, is that our cat? Johan says, oh, it is like kind of a pet. Which is like, what do you mean, kind of a pet? Like, is it your pet or not? It's a cat, right? And here's where it gets a little bit weird, because I'm not really sure if that is a cat or not. Just because he says things like, oh, don't be surprised if it disappears. It just does that sometimes. Also, if it were to misbehave, Ira should just tell Johan, and he would, like, tell him off and command him not to. Which, like, it's a cat. Cats don't really care, like, what you tell them, so I don't really know how that's gonna go, but alright, I guess it's kind of their pet, the cat. And now you think, okay, the guy went from a tentacle head to a planet head. That must be one heck of a mental illness or brain malfunction or whatever. It's not quite over yet, though, because the next time she wakes up, his head is now a bouquet of flowers when she looks at him. So now apparently her husband turned into a bouquet of flowers whenever she looks at him. Which is an interesting progression of things. But I suppose technically it's an upgrade. Like, if you think about it, if you'd rather look at your husband and see a tentacle monster or a bunch of flowers, I think we would all pick the flowers, right? But that's where she's at now. She sees her husband as a blooming personality, a guy with flowers for his head. Everything is still all weird and confusing, and she's not really sure, like, what's happening. He's still this perfect gentleman, loving husband who respects everything she wants or says, and it gives this eerie feeling of safety that you don't want to trust, you know what I mean? Like this kind of feeling where it's like, this is too positive. Something bad is gonna happen soon. Can't stay this peaceful and nice for that long, right? At least that's the feeling I'm getting. That already brings us pretty much to the end of chapter 5. We still don't really know what is going on here. Everything still seems so harmless and innocent and nice. He gives her a sweet little kiss on the back of her hand, talks all sweetly to her, almost breaks her back during a massage because apparently he's just that freaking strong, which kind of suspicious, but for Ira personally, it's like, oh, I guess men are just stronger, which is like, I don't know, I think there's more behind that, girl. But that is where it leaves us after the first 5 episodes. Basically just one huge question mark. The genre we're dealing with is definitely romance, but also a lot of mystery. Like, obviously we can make theories about, oh, maybe he actually is an alien, maybe something else is going on, maybe her mental illness is just that and it's actually kind of boring, but I don't know. I honestly do not know which direction this is going to be going in the end. But if you would like to find out, you can read the story How About the Cosmic Horror Story, and those first 5 chapters you can read for yourself with all the context and details, so you can make your own guesses as to what's going to happen. For 6 more days you'll be able to read those 5 chapters completely free, and then afterwards you need to unlock new chapters through gems, which is a feature of the Manta app that allows you to unlock new story chapters. But you can also get gems for reading specific stories, and of course you can purchase them if you so want to do it. I am definitely curious as to what the resolution of the story is, but I have to say it is a story that I might have not tried for myself, just because the genre is very different from what I usually read. I would say it's rather slow paced, but I do also think, at least from the vibes it's giving right now, that it's going to be a more wholesome story. so less triggering topics or any of the sort. So if you would like to give the story a try and maybe turn this thing into an exclamation mark once you figure out all these connections here, you can do so on Manta Comics, both as a website and app. And I hope you let me know if you enjoy the story or not. Thank you very, very much for Manta Comics for sponsoring this little video. I do hope you will enjoy the story if you decide to read it. I'll see you soon on my next video. In the meantime, try not to hit your head or else your husband might turn into a tentacle monster in your eyes. Thank you to my channel members, Radio Pierce, Lee Hua, Mindy C, and Liv Algier for your support. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. Good night.